45,000 people at their Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas, but Joel and Victoria Osteen share their message with millions of people around the world.
Some controversies are harder to wash away than others, and this story sadly confirms it. On November the 10th, 2021, a plumber named Justin Cauley was working inside a bathroom at Lakewood Church, run by Pastor Joel Osteen. He was trying to fix a loose toilet when he noticed a tile that didn't seem quite right. Curious, he pulled it away from the wall, and something unexpected spilled out. Hundreds of envelopes, roughly 500 of them, packed tightly inside the wall, including stolen cash. Join us in this video for the full story and how it all ties back to Pastor Joel Osteen, because things aren't looking good for him. How Joel Osteen came on stage. Joel Osteen isn't just a pastor. Over the years, he has become something more, a carefully crafted brand. Always sharply dressed, calm, and endlessly optimistic, his image is as polished as his message. In American media, he has sometimes been nicknamed the Teflon pastor. The idea behind the name is simple. No matter how much criticism, scandal, or controversy comes his way, very little seems to stick. For decades, Osteen has preached the prosperity gospel, a message that promises believers blessings, success, and abundance through faith. Whenever controversy appears, he often responds the same way, offering encouraging words, flashing his signature smile, and continuing his message of positivity until the storm fades. But recently, that familiar smile has begun to show cracks. And to understand how Joel Osteen rose to become one of the most powerful televangelists in the world, you have to start with a surprising truth. He was never supposed to inherit the pulpit in the first place. If you walked into Lakewood Church in 1982, you wouldn't have seen Joel standing behind the pulpit. Instead, you would have found him behind a camera. For 17 years, Joel worked quietly under his father, John Osteen, the founder of the church. John was a traditional preacher, trained in seminary, confident in the pulpit, and known for his powerful voice. Joel's role was very different. He spent most of his time editing his father's sermons and handling the technical side of the ministry, cameras, production, broadcast. That was his world. Public speaking, however, terrified him. The production room felt safe. The stage did not. So whenever his father encouraged him to preach, Joel always gave the same answer, no. But on January the 17th, 1999, Joel finally agreed to preach a single sermon. It was meant to be a one-time thing. However, just 6 days later, his father suddenly died from a heart attack. With John Osteen gone, Joel found himself in an impossible position. Someone had to step up and lead the church, and suddenly all eyes were on him. He took the stage, not because he felt ready, but because there was no one else. Joel was grieving. He had very little experience preaching, and by traditional standards, he was painfully unqualified. Most megachurch pastors spend years in seminary studying theology. Joel, on the other hand, had dropped out of Oral Roberts University during his first year. So when he finally stood behind the microphone, he didn't try to imitate his father. Instead, he leaned into what he understood best. Joel treated the church almost like a television production. He simplified the message. The heavy focus on sin, suffering, and theological debate faded into the background. In its place came shorter, uplifting messages, carefully framed by professional lighting, polished camera angles, and words designed to leave the audience feeling hopeful and encouraged. And slowly, that approach began to change everything. Critics didn't hold back. Many mocked Joel's style, dismissing it as gospel light. They believed his upbeat approach lacked depth and predicted he wouldn't last long. But they underestimated Joel Osteen. Joel wasn't trying to preach in the traditional mold. Instead, he focused on something else entirely, building an audience. He may not have followed the classic formula for sermons, but he understood something many pastors didn't: how to present a message people wanted to hear. How well did this work? Was it eventually going to blow up in his face? Keep watching to find out. The Brew. Joel Osteen's initial criticisms. It worked. Within just a few years, the 6,000-seat sanctuary his father had built at Lakewood Church could no longer hold the crowds showing up each week. So in 2003, Joel made one of the boldest moves modern church leadership had seen. Lakewood Church signed a $12 million lease over 30 years for the former sports arena known as Compaq Center. Then the church poured nearly $100 million into renovations, transforming the massive venue into a state-of-the-art worship and broadcast center. The move completely changed Lakewood's reach. What had once been a local congregation quickly grew into a global media powerhouse, broadcasting services to millions around the world. But investing that much money into a building comes with pressure. You don't spend nearly $100 million unless you're confident you can fill those seats week after week. And filling a sports arena with sermons about guilt, shame, and fire and brimstone preaching? That's not easy. Joel understood that. So the message began to shift. If you listen to recordings of sermons by his father, Joel Osteen, you'll hear strong themes about sin, repentance, and redemption through Jesus. But tune in to Joel's sermons today, and the focus often feels more personal. The message centers on you, your future, your potential, your purpose. Joel recognized that traditional preaching could feel intimidating to many people. Instead of emphasizing hell or judgment, he leaned into themes like victory, favor, opportunity, and destiny. The experience was carefully designed. You might walk into church feeling discouraged or overwhelmed. Then you'd hear 30 minutes of uplifting, motivational teaching, often accompanied by soft music and a warm, encouraging tone. By the time you left, the goal was simple. You felt hopeful again, like a champion ready to face the week ahead. But this was going to lead to one of Joel Osteen's most controversial teachings. Joel Osteen often taught that God wants believers to live prosperous and healthy lives. In many of his sermons, he tells followers that poverty is often tied to mindset, while wealth can be seen as a sign of blessing. However, not everyone agrees with that interpretation. Some biblical scholars point to passages attributed to Jesus Christ that warn about the dangers of wealth, including the statement, "Woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort." To critics, this seems very different from the message of financial prosperity. So why did Joel shape the message the way he did? Some observers believe it's because messages about sacrifice and hardship are difficult to market, while a message promising success, abundance, and a better life tends to attract a much wider audience. Ironically, while Osteen encourages followers to pursue financial success, many critics point out that he appears to be the one who has benefited the most financially. Joel has repeatedly said that he does not receive a salary from Lakewood Church, yet he is often described as one of the wealthiest pastors in America. So how did that happen? A big part of the answer traces back to a book. In October 2004, Osteen released Your Best Life Now. The book became an enormous success, remaining on bestseller lists for about 200 weeks. That success launched a massive publishing career and is widely believed to be the main source of his estimated fortune, often reported to be between $50 million and $100 million. The book's success also supports his claim that he doesn't rely on a church salary. In fact, Osteen has said that he gave up a $200,000 annual salary from the church years ago. Still, critics argue that the financial picture is more complicated. While Osteen may not draw a direct paycheck, Lakewood Church spends millions each year broadcasting his sermons around the world. Those broadcasts, funded largely through donations and tithes, help introduce millions of viewers to his message. Many of those viewers then go on to purchase his books and other materials, which generate revenue for him personally. In that sense, critics say the church's massive platform effectively gives him access to a global audience of potential customers every week. And the book sales were only the beginning. But financial criticism hasn't been the only controversy connected to the Osteen family. What other controversies have put Joel Osteen on the brink of cancellation? And how do Americans now see him? Keep watching to find out. How Joel Osteen got too deep in the wrong waters. In 2017, Hurricane Harvey struck Houston with devastating force. Over 4 days, more than 50 inches of rain inundated the city, displacing thousands of residents and leaving them desperate for shelter. Many naturally looked to Lakewood Church, with its massive 16,000-seat arena, as a place of refuge. But the doors stayed firmly closed. Instead, the church issued a short corporate statement on Facebook that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. Lakewood Church is inaccessible due to severe flooding. Yet, locals who lived near the church quickly noticed something odd. The roads around the arena weren't underwater at all. They were clear. Videos quickly spread across Twitter and Instagram, showing that the service roads leading to the church were perfectly passable. The church's statement, which claimed inaccessibility due to flooding, looked increasingly questionable. The contrast became even starker thanks to one local business owner, Jim Mattress Mac. McKingvale, a well-known Houston furniture salesman, opened the doors of his showroom to the public. He sent out his delivery trucks to rescue people trapped by floodwaters and offered his showroom as a shelter, letting those affected sleep safely on his expensive inventory. When questioned about why Lakewood hadn't done the same, Joel Osteen later explained that the church didn't receive official notice to act as a shelter and was waiting for formal designation before opening its doors. The episode became one of the most widely discussed controversies in Osteen's career, raising serious questions about the gap between the church's message and its actions in times of real crisis. The internet erupted. Public outrage over Lakewood's initial inaction during Hurricane Harvey was swift and furious. Under mounting pressure, the church finally changed course. Days after the storm, and only after widespread online criticism, Lakewood announced it would accept refugees. They rolled out air mattresses and brought in cameras to broadcast Joel Osteen shaking hands and praying with survivors, a move that many saw as a staged PR response rather than genuine action. But Osteen made another misstep that only fueled the controversy. He went on the Today Show to defend the church. On live television, he claimed they had always been open, even though their earlier Facebook post had explicitly said the church was inaccessible. He tried to frame it as a matter of protecting people from dangerous roads, but his explanation fell flat. Most viewers saw it as tone-deaf and self-serving. Just a few years later, controversy would strike again, this time on a national scale. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, the world shut down and small businesses struggled to survive. To help, the government launched the Paycheck Protection Program, providing emergency funding to businesses unable to make payroll. But somehow, Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church thought they qualified. Despite running a media empire with an estimated annual budget of $90 million, and Joel himself having a net worth of over $50 million, the church applied for $4.4 million in PPP funds. The news caused immediate backlash. Critics argued it was unethical for a mega church with such resources to tap into funds intended for struggling small businesses. Eventually, Lakewood returned the money, but by then, the damage was done. Public trust had taken another hit, and Joel Osteen's image as a charitable spiritual leader was further tarnished. While Lakewood Church was busy chasing millions in government aid, it had completely forgotten about the $600,000 stolen in 2014. It would take someone very different from a pastor, a man with a wrench, not a Bible, to remind them what honesty really looks like. How did the heist happen? And what do the tabloids now look like for Joel Osteen's reputation? Would he ever bounce back from this? Let's see. The heist and what it did to Joel Osteen's reputation. On March the 9th, 2014, after Sunday services concluded at Lakewood Church, church staff followed their usual procedure. The offering collected during the services, cash, checks, and credit card slips, was gathered from donation buckets and placed inside the church's secure safe. Sometime between Sunday afternoon and Monday morning, something shocking happened. About $600,000 worth of donations vanished. When the theft was discovered, authorities from the Houston Police Department were called to investigate. Officers searched the building carefully, expecting to find signs of a break-in. But there was a problem. There were no signs of forced entry. No alarms had been triggered. Nothing appeared damaged or tampered with. To investigators, the conclusion seemed almost unavoidable. Whoever took the money likely had access to the building. In other words, it strongly suggested an inside job. The investigation into the 2014 heist went nowhere. The Houston Police Department interviewed hundreds of employees, but no suspect was ever identified. For 7 years, the missing $600,000 seemed forgotten. The church moved on, and the thief appeared to have gotten away with it. However, later in November 2021, Justin Cauley, a plumber, was standing in a bathroom with a pile of 500 envelopes, each stuffed with cash and checks. It was the missing $600,000 from the 2014 heist. Justin immediately called the maintenance supervisor and handed over every single cent to the church. In one act, he solved a 7-year-old mystery and restored what little remained of the church's reputation. He hoped his effort would earn him recognition from Joel Osteen. It didn't. To keep things officially clean, the church instead issued Justin a $20,000 check through Crime Stoppers, an organization they funded. Justin later told the press, "I feel like I should have heard something. I'm just a little upset." And indeed, anyone paying attention would feel the same. The cold response revealed a sharp contrast between the warm, friendly persona on stage and the reality behind the scenes. The bathroom discovery didn't just return stolen funds, it exposed a culture. Will Joel Osteen ever recover from these controversies? What are his views on politics, and how do these views make him look? Keep watching to find out. Things aren't looking so good for Pastor Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen has generally avoided preaching about highly divisive topics such as politics, abortion, or marriage equality. Instead, his messages usually focus on encouragement, faith, and personal growth. That said, he has occasionally addressed these issues when asked directly. Osteen has said that, based on his interpretation of Scripture, same-gender marital relationships are not God's best and are considered a sin, but he has also emphasized that everyone, including gay people, is welcome at Lakewood Church without judgment. He has also remarked that churches sometimes become overly focused on single issues, like homosexuality, while neglecting other aspects of faith and spiritual life. Osteen has made other public comments on religious and political topics as well. During a 2008 interview on Fox News, amid the 2008 Republican Party presidential primaries, he said he believed members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were Christians, while also noting that he had not studied the religion deeply. In a separate interview in 2011, Osteen expressed support for Israel. Recently, something unexpected has been happening at Lakewood Church. In an interview with Fox News host Steve Doocy, Osteen discussed what he described as a revival among younger generations, particularly Gen Z and millennials. During the segment, Doocy spoke with several young attendees about why they continue to return to church. When asked whether the message ever feels repetitive, one young man responded that inspiration is something people never outgrow needing. He explained that no one reaches a point where they can say they've graduated from encouragement or spiritual guidance. Another attendee said he had grown up attending church because his parents insisted on it. Like many others his age, he eventually drifted away from faith but later found himself returning. According to the young man, many of his friends who never attended church before are now showing curiosity about it. He said many of them had searched for meaning in other places, through entertainment, trends, or cultural distractions, but eventually realized none of those things truly satisfied them. Another attendee described Lakewood Church as a place where people feel welcomed and supported, a place where they can find community while exploring faith and purpose. In a culture filled with constant distractions and endless alternatives promising fulfillment, some young people are discovering that none of those substitutes fully satisfy the deeper hunger of the soul. For many, their return to church is not simply a passing trend. Instead, it reflects a renewed search for identity, purpose, and a connection with God, something they feel modern culture often struggles to provide. Whether this movement grows or fades remains to be seen, but for now, it suggests that spiritual curiosity among younger generations may be stronger than many expected. Young people might be loving Joel Osteen's message right now, but it doesn't stop the brewing backlash and the fact that the public is yet to forgive or forget the many missteps Joel Osteen has made in ministry. What do you think about the recent scandals Pastor Joel Osteen has had to go through? Will his popularity fade? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for joining us as we piece together the many controversies that have recently surrounded Pastor Joel Osteen. We hope you found this video both insightful and interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to enjoy more celebrity stories. See you there.